All right. I think right now I'm going to go over the dev article that Bungie released today. Going over changes to... Oh my god. Misclick. A bunch of shit. Bunch of shit got changed for the final shape. Or it's coming out June 4th with the final shape. Ton of changes going on. So, I've already read this, but, yeah, I've already read it, so I'm going to be summarizing some of the stuff, not going to lie. So if you want a full, like, comprehensive breakdown, this isn't that. I'm just going to be talking about it lightly. So, stasis, it's getting some changes here. Most of all, it's getting a keyword, which is frost. Which, uptime-wise, will be really good, breaking it down. Basically, every time you pick up a stasis shard, you get frost armor and a chunk of health. I think the chunk of health is only from the harvest aspects. Or I guess shards only do it when you have the harvest aspects, which, yeah. Shards aren't really being more implemented in fragments or anything, which is kind of a shame, but with those aspects, we're getting frost armor, chunks of health, stuff like that from them. So, frost armor. Is it a good keyword on its own? In my opinion, not really. Woven mail, basically just as, if not more easy to get than frost armor will be. Because, spoiler alert, they're nerfing the woven mail fragment warding, threat of warding, if I remember right. They're nerfing duration by half. But frost armor has a 9-second timer on it, and it's a stacking damage resistance. Each stack is 4.5, and stacks up to 5 times, normally without Whisper of Rhyme. So that puts it at like just under 25. It's like, yeah, just under 25% damage resistance at max stacks in PvE. PvP, it's 10% damage resistance, which is, again, that's not bad. But Whisper of Rhyme will let you go up to 8 stacks, which gets you in the 30s for damage resistance. Both lower than Woven Mail. Of course, Woven Mail doesn't protect against headshots whatsoever. So there's the difference. Yeah. So, like I said, harvest aspects, they're getting a buff in the sense that shards will give you health and frost armor. And yeah. Large stasis shards are going to be a thing from Grim Harvest and Tectonic Harvest. I don't think Glacial Harvest is getting it. Does Glacial Harvest have one? I genuinely don't know. But also there's going to be a global cooldown. So like all of them have cooldowns associated with the amount of shards you make. But now they're also going to have a global cooldown. So if a fire team makes... So if you have 3 behemoths and they all destroy stasis walls, you're not going to be swarmed with like 60 of them all at once. Because they are global, not local like all the other pickups. So that's a small change, which is probably fair. Renewal Grasp is getting a rework, which I thought would come in the exotic rework article tomorrow. But yeah, it's giving you frost armor for standing in the Duskfield Grenade. I don't think the damage negation on enemies is changing. I think that's staying the same. And then Baljors is getting rid of the Stasis Shard Overshield from your Rift and Shatter. It's getting Frost Armor, which is a nice change. I'm assuming everything else about these is unchanged. Surprised we didn't see Icefall Mantles here, but maybe that's coming tomorrow. Who knows? They made 2 new fragments. Whisper of Chill. Stasis Weapon Final Blows have a chance to make a shard, which is massive. That is massive. Whisper of Chains is getting a change. Yeah, it's shard generation. Like, I don't know why earlier I said there's not ways to make shards. There are. It's just a few of them. But yeah, it basically, Frost Armor exists now, and shards are getting a little bit of buffs here and there. And then another new one. Basically what I said they should do for Frost Armor is actually here. So, melee attacks, it's ACDC 0 feedback fence, but if you melee someone or they melee you, non-projectile melees, they get slowed, which is fine. Shatter's getting, honestly, a pretty big buff. This is a pretty decent buff to Shatter. Excited for that. Ice Flare Bolts are getting buffed, which is crazy, but I'm good with it. Honestly, the changes to Hunter are kind of banging. Stasis Hunter is going to be pretty good for PvE. And, I mean, Stasis Warlock has been for a while. It's just been, undermined. But it might be better now, so we'll have to see about that. Titan, I still think it's not going to be great. This change right here, all of this, the Diamond Land stuff was purely for Prismatic, 100%. So, there's that. Now, shattering Stasis Crystals on direct impact, that's massive. That's big. I like that. Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn. This needed to happen. All of this is warranted and fine. I'm all good with the Well of Radiance nerf. This is goofy. That's goofy. Changing Armor of Light into Void Overshield, I'm fine with that. Void Overshield probably needs a buff. But, wow. Wow. It got gutted. They removed Weapons of Light and moved it to Helm of Saint 14. So here's my question. Is Weapons of Light on Helm of Saint 14 going to be Ward of Dawn's Weapons of Light, or will it be Banner Shields? Because it is the same name, but 2 different buffs. Ward of Dawn gave a 25%. Banner Shield gave a 45%. Best Warlock exotic right now. Making me think. It depends. It depends. Apotheosis Veil is really good right now. I think it'll be really good next season. Or, I guess, with the final shape. So that one's up there. I know a lot of people really like Phoenix Protocol. And, it has its uses. I understand that. But I'm not a huge fan of it. Starfire Protocol, in my opinion, is a little better. Sunbracers, though. Sunbracers are really good. I like Lunafaction Boots. A lot of people don't. I think they're pretty solid. It really just depends on the build you're going for. And with Well getting nerfed, that's throwing a lot of questions out there. Because, this is all pretty much nerfs to Well of Radiance right here. So, this is it's getting 2 buffs. You get Radiant for 8 seconds when you exit the well, and the initial heal is massively increased. So it's going to fully heal everyone in the area. But everything else about it, except for orbs from defeating enemies, is getting nerfed. This is mostly nerfs. So that's Lunafaction's going down. Sunbracers probably won't be as good. Apotheosis Veil was really good on Strand, and it probably still will be. So it really just depends what content you're doing and what you want to run. The most fun Warlock exotic, that's completely up to you too. But yeah. I pick weird exotics. Like a lot of people like I can't Controverse Hold. I'm not a huge fan of it because Chaos Accelerant itself is not a great aspect. So I would rather go with something like Briarbinds or Nezarec Sin. In higher end content, I just wouldn't run Voidwalker. So there's no point in running Controverse Hold in that case. Geomags are really good if you're not wanting to run well. Have to find a new build now. Yeah. I think Prismatic Warlock is going to be insane. I think it's going to be really good. So if you are planning on buying the final shape, check out Prismatic Warlock. That thing is going to be insane. Needle Storm, great. And then you compare that Feed the Void and Bleak Watchers. It's going to be a great subclass. Use healing grenades so you can give yourself restoration in a pinch. And Devour is going to give you more grenade energy. It's just going to be really good. So, I think Warlock, I think nerfing well is a massive bonus for Warlocks. And also there's some pretty good buffs for Stasis. So you might look into Stasis alone as a subclass too. But this is crazy. This is crazy. Every single one of these lines is a nerf to Bubble. Okay, actually, it's all of these lines. All of this is a nerf to Bubble. That's crazy. I know it's broken in PvP. Don't get me wrong. I was expecting it to get nerfed for PvP, but I thought it would get a buff in PvE. Wow. It got gutted. There's no reason to use Ward of Dawn, which means all my Titans out there, all my Titan friends, big ups to Sentinel Shield. That thing is going to hit so hard right now, which is great. Ursa Furiosa stocks are up, okay? And I have a sneaking suspicion Ursa Furiosa is getting a buff tomorrow. They're going to announce it. I have a feeling. Also, kind of a PvP change more than anything, but they're changing how supers are generated. I'm not sure if... Yeah, they don't say whether it's PvE or PvP or both. But basically, the faster natural charge time ones won't have a massive advantage against the slower ones when it comes to actually playing the game and getting charged that way. So, that's big. Arc, though, there's still no reason to run any of this. Gathering Storm, better than Arc Staff. And the new super also looks better than Arc Staff. Disorienting Blow, I'd rather use Combination Blow with Lethal Current and Flow State. Like, there's these two won't do a lot to save them. Like these two buffs. I don't think a 10-second cooldown reduction on Disorienting Blow is going to do much. Is it a garbage melee? No. But it's either run that or a, Combination Blow, Flow State, Lethal Current build with either Assassin's Cowl or Liar's Handshake, which deal massive damage and give you a lot of survivability. Tempest Strike and Disorienting Blow can't keep up with it. Stunning and blinding enemies is good, but it's not as good as killing them. So, here's some changes to Stormcaller. That's a massive change for Lightning Surge. And it's not meant for the fucking Arc Warlock. Let's be real here. The Lightning Surge on Arc Warlock is still going to not be great. Because it's competing with Arc Souls and Electrostatic Mind. Both are pretty solid, if they weren't Arc. But Lightning Surge, this is for Prismatic. Being able to have 3 charges of it with Arcane Needle is insane. So, this is a great change for Prismatic. You can use it with Prismatic and it'll be solid. Ball Lightning's getting a buff. Doesn't really matter. And then Chain Lightning melee is being buffed to try to keep it in line with, our range and melees, because some of those are really good. Striker Titan's getting some buffs. So Thunderclap, it's getting a massive buff. Damage is increased. The minimum damage and maximum damage are being increased. The damage resistance in it is getting increased in PvE. So that's good. Knockout's getting completely reworked, kind of. It's being buffed in PvE and I think nerfed in... Yeah, it's being nerfed in PvP. So, hey, that's good. Knockout in PvP was really, really kind of broken. Not as good as Bubble. Bubble was still better. But it getting buffed in PvE, that's massive. That's really good. Touch of Thunder. They're bringing back the old Storm Grenade. The one that follows people for, like, really quickly and for way too long. So Storm Grenades are back on the menu for Touch of Thunder Titans. Also, Lightning Grenades are getting a nerf on Titan. But they are, this is crazy to me, they are buffing Storm Grenades on everyone. Touch of Thunder is unchanged on damage. 20% more damage on Storm Grenade, kind of insane. Big fan of that change. I love Storm Grenades. And then some fragment changes. These aren't too big. Spark of Recharge getting buffed, that's nice. That's really nice. It's actually usable. Spark of Beacons working on heavies, while Amplified, that's big. Amplified is really easy to get, so you're going to be blinding enemies with beacons a lot. And Spark of Frequency might be used by someone now. Lightweight Knife, it won't work with Ophidia Spathe, but it's going to throw faster and it's going to have 2 charges naturally. And you can throw them back to back quickly. So, knock them down. That got buffed? Knock them down got buffed, which is nice. So it's going to make my build slightly better. But Marksman Golden Gun did get hit. And it was specifically targeting Star Eater scales. Being Star Eater scales. And refunding everyone's supers because everyone was headshotting bosses and infinitely Star Eater spamming. So, here's my thing on it. I wish getting kills, precision kills with Marksman Golden Gun, maybe made a bigger orb or drop 2 orbs on precision kill. That would have been nice. Something. But, I mean, at the end of the day, this doesn't really change much. You might still be able to do the Star Eater thing with 6 hunters, so we'll have to see. Sunbreakers? Crazy enough, they got buffed. The probably second best subclass in the game for PvE, at least survivability wise, just got a buff. All of this, though, like all the consecration stuff, is probably purely for prismatic, in all reality. Breaking stasis crystals, prismatic. And then, yeah, I mean, yeah, this stuff's useful for solar, like normal Sunbreaker gameplay. But this first one is so obviously for prismatic, and they talk about it too. They talk about it. But, yeah. Hammer of Soul's getting buffed. Not with Soul Invictus, though. Soul Invictus is staying pretty much exactly the same. Swarm Grenades are getting a buff. Thank God. They're really bad. Snare Bomb does more damage. Thank God. It's not great. Trapper's Ambush is getting that too. Then Stylish Executioner is getting synergy with Glaives, which is sick. I love it when they buff Glaives. Do it more. They are bad. Glaives are not great. I would love some good Glaives. Judgment of Kelgrath's like the only good one, and it's not even that great in later on content. Like, we all thought they would be good for the sake of the shield. But, like, there's no point in running them. They don't do enough damage to really consider for DPS. And, like, with decent positioning, there's no reason to ever have a glaive because you don't need the shield. And if you want a shield for anything, it's probably better to just run Stronghold and block. So glaives really don't have a spot right now, and I would love for them to. Shield throw on Void Titan got buffed. Offensive Bulwark got a buff, which was a little weird because I feel like it's one of the two aspects that you have to run, if we're being real. But yeah, this was to fix bad timer states, basically. So, it's not really a buff. It's more of a rework, but it's very solid. I'm happy about it. Chaos Accelerant got a buff for magnetic grenades, which is the only reason I would ever use it, because it actually changes something. Yeah, you push them back further, you deal more damage to them, and magnetic grenades have a faster cooldown. That's great. Let's talk about this change. Okay, actually, I got to read this whole thing because I read it earlier and it made me laugh. From the first minute of your experience using Prismatic, Pocket Singularity will be available to equip and use. Okay? A piece of feedback we've heard for a while now, 2 years, is that Pocket Singularity struggles in high-level PvE content. And we agree. Bungie, I got some news for you. It's not just high-end PvE content. In fact, you could, this whole section, high level, you could delete that. And you can also just delete that. Okay, actually, PvP has its uses and it's actually pretty good. Not gonna lie, it's actually pretty good in PvP. But like, in all PvE content, it's bad. It doesn't kill red bars in low-level PvE with a fucking melee. Are you kidding me? But yeah, they're increasing damage by 50%. So maybe it can kill a red bar in some, patrols, which would be nice. And maybe it can deal a quarter of a health bar in a GM. But still, why are you running Void Walker in GMs over Solar? Yeah, if well nerfs, maybe. But I would probably rather use Arc or Stasis, mainly Stasis. Yeah, Cataclysm is getting 2 extra Seekers. And they're fixing the issue where Seekers just go into walls. Oh, Bungie, that's good. That's a good one, Bungie. That's a good one. I hope it works. And, they're buffing the Vortex by 3 seconds. Do I think this is going to change Nova Bomb's placement in the meta? No. I think if you give it a 10 or 20% damage buff, it's still going to be bad compared to a lot of other supers that are one and done. But I think this is a good step. Now, if they added on to this, Seekers make enemies volatile, that'd be great. Or Vortexes either applied weaken or suppress. Weaken would be great. It doesn't take away the fantasy and the power of the Night Stalker's bow, because that does another 20% to weaken. But it would make Vortex more viable, especially in groups that don't have hunters. That would help it out a lot. And you don't have to use a grenade for it. You can throw a grenade, Vortex, and then you got like 10 more seconds of weaken. And, if your build is very grenade heavy, maybe you could cycle between them pretty well. Apotheosis Veil would really slap that way. But, that's just what it is. Again, like I said, Threat of Warding got halved for the duration. I'm surprised. I didn't think they would hit the duration of it, which it does make sense because it does get in the way of Into the Fray. But I was fully expecting a Woven Mail nerf. Like the percentage, because it's 65% damage reduction? I thought that shit was going to get halved, especially when I saw how low Frost Armor was. I was like, oh yeah, this buff that is stacking, so if you only have 1 stack, it's like negligible. Genuinely, Speed Booster gives a higher damage resistance when sprinting than Frost Armor does at 2 stacks. So maybe even 3. Speed booster is like 10 or 15% damage resistance. So like you need 3 or 4 stacks before you have a higher damage resistance than sprinting on arc. That's not the point. But I thought Woven Mail was going to get nerfed itself, like the damage reduction. I thought it was going to get halved to like 35. Still, you could take headshot damage because it's super easy to get and has a long timer. Frost Armor, I'm not saying is dead on arrival. I think it's a great addition to the toolkit, but without those harvest aspects, it's going to be bad. Like, you're not getting the health bump. You know, you're not getting... I think the shards still give you stack. It's weird. Yeah, I'm not super... I'm excited for Frost Armor. I think it's going to help. But Woven Mail's just better. I don't think these nerfs to Strand are really going to take it away from where it is. Like, Ensnaring Slam, it's still going to be good. You know? It's a cylinder instead of a sphere. So they're tightening it in. They're making the radius smaller, but it will go higher upwards. So like if someone's trying to fly above you to get out of the area of it, they can't. Which, that's a buff. And then Threaded Spike got its damage reduced in PvP. So it doesn't affect PvE, which is what I really care about. But it doesn't break invisibility now, which is a buff and is mainly for Prismatic. So Weaver's Call got a buff. So Strand Warlock, we up. And also Prismatic Warlock, we up. Okay, dealing strand damage can generate threadlings. Defeating targets with strand damage has a chance to make a perch threadling. That's good. And threadlings can do it. That would have been great this season, where we can make hordes of threadlings by just shooting things. But it is what it is. I'll take it. And they had to put Titan last because they knew it was going to be tough. And they wanted to rip the Band-Aid off about Tangles and Melee. Yeah. So, Grapple Tangles are broken. And they have been all year. It's not a secret that Berserker Titans deal a lot of damage with melees. Especially if they're using fucking Tractor Cannon. So, it no longer fully refreshes your grapple. And the Tangles no longer fully refresh. Wait, hold on. Hold on. Did I read this wrong? Okay, so you still... Okay, I had to read that again. Okay, so... It's not that the grapple doesn't instantly refresh. It's that the grapple tangles don't have their duration reset whenever they're grappled. It's increased by 5 seconds per grapple. And the more grapples you grapple onto, it reduces it. So after 5 grapples, each grapple only adds 1 second to it. So like, people are still going to spam grapple tangles for reloads. You know? And then they're making it so you can't shoot before grappling, which, yeah, that should have been addressed a long time ago. That was mainly a PvP problem. PvE was... Yeah. So... I mean, PvE, it does affect PvE a lot because 1-2 punch builds won't work, and they fucking say that right here. I mean, they'll still work. They'll still be good, but it's just not on grapple melee, which does more damage than a normal melee because it's grenade damage and melee damage rolled up into one. Does a lot. Yeah, into the fray. Honestly, I wasn't expecting this. I wasn't expecting that to happen. I didn't think Into the Fray would be touched. I thought it would just be Banner of War, which it's getting nerfed, so it has diminishing returns with Synthoceps and Wormgod's Caress. That's fair. And they're reverting the increase to maximum timer. That was done, I think, in December. They made it last longer, but you had to get more kills for each stack. So it was like, okay, it lasts longer, though. So, yeah. Do I think Banner of War will be bad after this? No. Do I think Into the Fray will be bad after this? No. I think it's still going to be one of the best builds in the game. Because Woven Mail was untouched. That was the main thing with Into the Fray. Yeah, the increased melee regen was nice and really good. But 3 times regeneration is still good. Banner of War being reduced by 6 seconds doesn't affect it that much. Like, I can't think of how many situations I've been in where I've been in a combat encounter, in combat, and Banner of War dropped to 6 seconds or less. So I don't think this is a massive change. Like, I don't think it's going to really hurt Banner of War. What will, though, is this stuff right here. So, yeah. I'm pretty sure... Yeah, this is only affecting the... Banner of War Synthoceps stack. So, like, yeah, this will actually affect Banner of War. I don't think it'll be bad at all. I think it'll still be good. But it's definitely not as strong. But still really good. Okay? And then Frenzied Blade actually got buffed. So, like, this number makes it look like it got nerfed. But trust me, that's a buff because you're going to be whiffing less. You're going to do less melee whiffs in PvE, which is great. So yeah, Frenzied Blade got buffed. And then there were marginal nerfs to Banner of War and Into the Fray. This is the big nerf to Titans right here. You can't do Navigator, swap to Tractor Cannon, and just melee bosses to death and shoot them with 1-2 punch shotguns. That got stopped. This was the big nerf to Titans right here. The grapple and tangle. Grappling tangles and meleeing. That's the big nerf to Titans. Which is fair. I wouldn't say it's the hardest tech, because it isn't. But, you know, if you don't have Navigator, you can't really do it solo. And, yeah. It takes a little bit of practice. It's not the hardest thing in the world. But, like, it's a thing you could do. And it was way too good. Like, it was broken. If we're being honest, it was broken. So, yeah. That is the article for this. The abilities. Does the abilities change article? I think it's like 9,000 words. But yeah, this is big. This is really big. So, yeah, that happened. You know,